Switching.
Alright, hello guys, welcome to the Saryn Prime build guide video. This is my second time recording, as the first time I may or may not have recorded the audio. Anywho, let's get into it. So obviously we're all here for the same reason. We're trying to take Saryn into the highest level content. However, there's a few things that need to be set in place and decided by yourselves beforehand, and those few things are this. So for the build, this is an overall build. It is titled Cascade, but this is the overall build for general content. It has fast shield regen, brief respite for additional shields on that, pressing ability to get energy shields back. All the enemies will pretty much die before your shield is ever run out, and when you do get hit, these two shield recharge delays, they basically make it so you are constantly regenerating shield, so there is no problems there. So we're going to talk about the survivability of the frame. The survivability being how do we survive in all matters of content, and how can we easily set up our frame to easily run relic missions all day, or anything pretty much that isn't level cap or cascade, etc, etc. So we're talking general content here. We're going to be wanting to use this build here with these two arcanes. We're looking to make Saryn a gun frame, meaning she's not going to be killing too much with her abilities, so to speak. We are going to be using her abilities to fully strip armor and basically overbuff our weapons of choice, which on her there is a lot of weapons of choice, which we'll get into later with some demonstration gameplay. So for normal general content, this is the build. It's just set up for easy survivability, prime flow for energy. We are running Nourish as a subsume, just to have that energy regen plus the over 100% damage increase when you take into account Molt Augmented for viral. But I'll get into the statuses in a second. But this build will basically sit comfortably. You can absorb a fair bit of damage. You can still go down, but just play it careful, use your 2 when you need to, and basically survive through her kit. If we are wanting to do higher level content through cascades, we are wanting to swap this out for catalyzing shields, using the shield gate immunity duration, and being able to use brief respite to press an ability and basically get that back is going to pretty much be our life force when it comes to higher level cascade runs and content. So yeah, but for general purpose, just set a general purpose build is this, and for higher level cascades and for higher level content, this. You can swap out Power Drift for Prime Sure Footed if you would like. I personally am not too bothered. Whereas if you're using the Kuva Ogress, you might want to use that, but I tend just to get used to the AoE of the weapon and not have to worry too much about being knocked down or flung around. So we'll put on the normal general build here. I'm using Molt Efficiency. This gives more ability duration to our buffs, and also Molt Augmented, which gives us more strength stacked on top of what we have, so that basically equalizes the build. Okay, so we're just here in the simulacrum, and we are going to just demonstrate how to use this kit effectively, and understanding now a little bit more in depth of the little more expensive and more rarer things that go into the frames, being Archon shards, and full weapon setups, etc, etc. But so this is the part of the guide that goes a little bit further into why I set her up in the way I set her up in. So we've distinguished her as a gun frame, and we are using Archon shards. Now, if you don't have access to Archon shards and you keep the fourth ability, you can still AoE just fine, but this is pretty much where the build will stop for yourself. until you can basically get 2 green shards. Now ignore the Tower Forged, just 2 normal green shards, and pretty much this build guide can continue for you. So what do these 2 green shards do? Increase match toxic erosion status by +2, and that would mean +4 for 2 of them. Now why do we run that? Reason being is if we go over here to an enemy and I just put a spore, you see it goes 3, 6, 9, 12, 14. Bang. Right, it is completely armor stripped. And obviously this does work when it comes to your spores. So this will work with Toxic Lash when it comes to spreading your first ability. Is shooting, all of a sudden all these enemies now have spores. And as you can see, stripped, 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 stripped. And this one's dying because I shot him once. So yes, that is basically the core gameplay of how we strip enemies. Okay, so how do we go about killing? Now, there is a lot of weapon choices for killing enemies. We are using the Augment mod, Venom Dose, which you would have seen in the build. That basically means if you hold down your 1, it casts it onto yourself. So it gives basically additional corrosive damage to your weapons. Now Toxic Lash gives toxin damage to your weapons. Now Nourish gives viral to your weapons. So obviously you can pretty much tell right now that there's a lot of buffs happening. And if these aren't actually armor stripped, whereas if I just shoot them once, there we get toxin, and we got a gas rock there, and then we've got cold. That's just because of these weapons. Shoot them a few times, all of the gas procs. Now these are not stripped, but you can see how the statuses are affected kind of a whole range here. So if we use something like the Sobek, and we come over here, we've got our buffs active, 1, 3, 4, and then we put us 1 on there, and now we say once this guy strips, we'll shoot him, and they all die. So this is a Sobek build, which will show some gameplay here. But it basically uses acid shells as a way of basically transferring every status that we have on and exploding it in the area, which can pretty much lead to massive mob clear and a absolute array of damage across the screen.
My assistance will increase your probability of success considerably.
Okay, so here we will demonstrate the effects of gas. So gas is incredibly powerful on AoE weapons with Saryn. Reason being is we can transfer our spores and all most of the status effects that come from our frame, and we can make it so they last on the field. Dual liquors are also really good at this. So if we buff ourselves, and we say put 1 there, and I'm going to shoot actually to the left, not actually onto the pack. I'm just going to shoot there. You can see the gas procs and how they transfer from enemy to enemy. And that guy there is just chilling. So, but yes, so if we do this now in the middle of a pack, and we put a spore, they pretty much all die instantly. That's due to the gas, and obviously that this is in a simulacrum. I will put some gameplay now of the Ogress, demonstrating it in a mission of how good the AoE is for this weapon.
Prepare for life support. support capsule.
Also, melee weapons can be quite powerful. So we're going to buff ourselves again. Okay, and then we're going to put a spore on, and we just melee a few times. And you can see the tick damage. They fell off the map, but these are all dying. They've got corrosive. That was just after a few hits. And yeah, you basically transfer the spores. It strips them, the gas, the toxin, the viral. Basically completely destroys anything. One thing to make sure to understand is that any enemy, including Thrax in Cascades, will insta-die because of the toxin. Because it bleeds straight onto the health bars, so you don't really have to worry about armor or any sort of resistances. For the companion, we are using the Worm Prime, similar to reason as the Valkyr video. Just gives us that immediate shield recharge once it cracks, so you don't always have to be completely on the ball with your shield. Obviously the Tenacious Bond is quite nice if you're using some sort of crit weapon, even though we are quite status heavy on this build. And just to add on, the other Archon shards are 45% more toxin, and that's 3 times. So yes, so we are added up there to a 135% more toxin damage. So our buffs are pretty insane.
Enemy calls for a song.
They have just shut down all systems. I'm sending life support capsules your way.
Are you kidding me? Send me a challenge. Good kill.
Get ready for a capsule. Life support on the way.
It's dead.
Additional life support has arrived.